Bagwell is right to an extent. And I do think that now that he has officially been acknowledged by Jim Crane as a key voice in the Astros front office, that we should try to be somewhat fair while at the same time being skeptical. I would just encourage him to watch this video from a current player who used to play for the Houston Astros. This was back during the MLB playoffs. Carlos Correa is going to be a star on television someday. I think he is fantastic as a communicator. He should watch this, Jeff Bagwell should. This is a player who gets that there are numbers that are a part of the game that are fantastic when it comes to quickly evaluating players that could theoretically be available in free agency, in another team's minor league system, etc.
So, with the old school, it was average, home runs, RBI. So everybody look at that and judge a player based on those stats. Now, there's a lot more information out there. Now, it's all about projection. So how do you project a player? Play discipline is very important. WRC Plus takes into consideration the ballparks you play in, the league you play in, the quality of contact, your play discipline, just about everything in just one stat. So when GMs, when front offices, when they look at stats, they want to look at WRC Plus for a hitter, OPS Plus, and WOBA. Those are the most important stats right now in baseball. Those are the new triple crown, as we like to call it back in the day. It's not average home runs anymore. So when I'm in the clubhouse with the players, I make sure I tell them, hey, home runs are nice. If you can hit as many of them, hit them. But also focus on your plate discipline. Get on base. Hit the ball hard. That's the key of the game. Barrel balls.
I mean, what a great explanation of those statistics. This is the new batting average. This is the new runs batted in. And I hope that Jeff Bagwell looks at a breakdown like that and realizes, okay, maybe my takes that I have been very comfortable sharing on the AT&T Sportsnet Southwest broadcast, and of course, sharing now publicly at press conferences, the quote, there are certain things that go on that numbers can't explain, said Bagwell a couple of days ago. This game is played by humans, man. It's not by computers. There are a lot of things that go on, stuff at home, a lot of things that can happen throughout the year that mean something, and it affects players in certain ways. You're right. But also, don't ignore the information that is available to you. Use it as a tool. What is wrong with embracing, or at the very least, listening to a new idea? Maybe you don't have to embrace it. Embracing it as the first word, that's too strong. Listening to another person's idea, though, what's wrong with that? You can disagree with it, but why not think about it? Because what bothers me with the way that Bagwell talks about numbers like this, advanced metrics, etc., especially when you compare James Click to Jeff Luhnow and realize that Click actually used less of the information than Luhnow did before. Why can't you hear what Carlos Correa said, because it's coming from a player, and think to yourself, maybe there is a perfect world where these all can exist in harmony together. Is it that hard? And Rome in his piece wrote this. Bagwell's comments should come as no surprise. He's taken both veiled and blunt shots at some of the game's modern changes during appearances on Astros television and radio broadcasts. Many players from his era might share similar thoughts. Few are witnessing a better illustration of the benefits analytics and technology can provide. That's what the Astros have been doing over the years. And I think Rome is correct to point that out. So Bagwell needs to watch that video. Someone's got to sit him down and show him that. That's a player who is embracing it. There are other players who are too. Current players. What is wrong with the current players embracing that? Nothing. If the current players are embracing it, why aren't the ex-players embracing it? Is this going to turn into the same old BS that we see in the NBA all the time? Oh, back in my day, we played great defense. Did you? That's subjective. You played more physical defense, that's for sure. You got away with a lot more. But that's like the most tired narrative that we hear in the NBA. And we shouldn't all turn into a bunch of old men when it comes to new things that come into our lives, period. I'm trying to be this way with new music. It's hard. But music is like the gateway drug to rejecting anything that comes from the younger generation. Some of the things that the younger generation are doing are silly. busting on God for real, right? I'll be honest, too, with some of the really progressive things that everyone just accepts without questioning at a younger age than me, there's a part of me that's like, calm down a little bit. But there are some ideas that they have that aren't the worst in the world. And I don't think that we, by default, like Bagwell kind of is doing here, have to say to ourselves, bleep that kid. You know, that's what I get out of Bagwell, though, when he speaks publicly. And there's lots of broadcast examples of this that you've probably heard over the last couple of years. So just try to be a little more open, Jeff, going forward. That's my request of you. If Carlos Correa can be that, why can't you? If current players can be that, why can't you? The game has changed. It has. It is maybe going back a little bit closer to what you did with the banning of the shift, but what's so hard about that? Why do you have to sound like a stick in the mud or a fuddy-duddy when it comes to that? I don't get it.
In the words of Carlos Correa, it's Jeff Bagwell's job to know the facts, or else shut the bleep up. Maybe
Damn,
not the
Sean.
second part.
That's a great drop mic moment.
I don't stand by the shut the bleep up part. But
Yeah, he's not going to say that. But know the facts. There's nothing wrong with embracing them a little bit. You don't have to use them as the go-to, but I just don't like closed-minded people that are going to say, nah, bleep this. Everyone's doing it this way now, including the organization that you work for.
yeah, I was gonna say the ultimate irony is that as a player, he's using his experiences as a player to help build this team. This team has been so much more successful than any team Jeff Bagwell's ever been on.
Seriously, it's not even close. And again, maybe that's the Atlanta Braves. Maybe the Braves just were in their way, right? I mean, especially in the 90s and until the Astros, of course, beat them to go to the World Series
But
in
now
05.
the Astros are the Braves.
Right, exactly.
I don't think Fred McGriff was like, I really think Jeff Bagwell can help us out. Give us some pointers on how to win the playoffs.
I don't want to take too many shots at a guy being on a baseball team that didn't win because they were at least good, but there I know are a lot of people who would point to Jeff Bagwell's postseason numbers and say, "Oh, what's this?" So fair enough. All I'm saying to Jeff is be open. Comments like this make you sound closed-minded, and while I don't see eye to eye with many baseball writers, I don't blame them for being rather vitriolic towards the Astros when that's what this guy who was the chief advisor to the Astros owner is saying. I don't blame them. Would you? Embrace, again, that's too strong of a word. Be open to new ideas. Listen to new ideas. And disagree with them if you want, in a thoughtful way. It's not that hard. This comment on Twitch is really what I was trying to explain in the last segment. This comes from Arthur Fox. Gallant is correct in addressing the communications gap and explaining advanced analytics, where most and many people don't really get it, including Jeff Bagwell. And at least that's what we gather from Bagwell with the way that he talks about it. It's a sneering, kind of condescending dismissal. I played the game. They didn't. But what's wrong with listening to somebody explaining those statistics? And I do think it has to be a player who does it. Bagwell's just not going to listen to nerds. I know that frustrates a lot of smart people who are involved in sports, but that communications gap is a big deal. I've talked about this in Seattle before. I think that Seattle sports fans are extremely condescending, especially the football ones, the really smart ones on there. And I like them. I get along with them. But I think when they start talking down to somebody about advanced statistics, that is where you will get a lot of people who are old school who say, well, screw you. I'm an idiot because I don't embrace it. It is tricky to present this to people who are unwilling to even listen to it. But you're going to make it worse if you talk down to that person. And I mean, we see this in the political landscape all of the time. I would say that, at least from my own perspective, the left does this with the right a lot. At least folks who lean that way. And you could understand why someone who leans the other way would maybe say, instead of, oh, I get what you're saying, instead we'll say, bleep you. And the divide continues, etc. I wish there were more players like Carlos Correa who could describe advanced statistics, explain advanced statistics to guys like Jeff Bagwell, because there would be more openness.